Well, hello there. Today we are in my retro room. This is the 1970s-esque room with no modern screens or technology in it. I have nothing more than record players, books, and board games. This is where me and the family come to unplug, so to say, and live a little bit more simpler for the afternoons. And in here, I want to discuss a couple things. We're going to talk about a line of pedals. We're going to talk about a line of guitars. Pretty much, we're talking about a brand. That brand is Danelectro. And in the late 90s and early 2000s, the Danelectro brand was revised and they came out with a line of pedals that I'm sure every guitarist in that era had, at least one of them. And that is the Danelectro Mini Food Series pedals. Now, this is the grilled cheese distortion. I didn't have this until recently. I've been collecting the entire series because it's a little bit of nostalgia for me. I started out with the pastrami? No. The corned beef? Hash browns. Hash brown flanger. That's what it was. The names, the food names, I'm never going to get right. But the effect, it was a flanger. So I think it was the hash browns flanger. That was my first ever pedal. But let's talk about the grilled cheese distortion because it's going to wrap into something else a little bit later. I'm going to read you what the description is. The Danelectro Grilled Cheese DJ10. Hollow, tunnel-like, cheesy 60s distortion. What does all that mean? Hollow, tunnel-like, cheesy 60s distortion. Well, it's kind of a really cool effect, and if you know about it, then you know. But if you don't know, you might be confused. This has a level control and a resonance control. What this resonance control does is it acts like a wah pedal. And, in the probably starting in the 60s and going forth definitely up and even until today, that hollow, tunnel, cheesy, like 60s distortion, all those words that they strung together, what it means is that resonance knob is acting like a wah pedal. And it's called a cocked wah. It's when someone has the wah and they find a range in there that they like the tone of, and they leave it. So they're not going wiki wiki wak 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 back and forth on the wah pedal. They're just setting it and leaving it because they like where it's sitting in that tonal range. It's called the cocked wah. So that is what this resonance knob is doing. It is just acting like a wah pedal. You're finding your spot and leaving it. Now, what's cool about this pedal is that in that time of the resurgence of Danelectro and making their pedals, this would come inside all the pedal boxes. And I used to spend hours looking at this little mini catalog. Matter of fact, the guitar that's on the front of this mini catalog is right here. Now, I have replaced the original single coil pickups and put lipstick pickups in there because that's what Danelectros originally had. During this brand reemergence, they made some cheap guitars just to get them out there. And this was one of those cheap guitars. It is called a Danoblaster. And the Danoblaster, this is called the Hearsay. And the Hearsay had one effect built into it. It was the grilled cheese distortion. It says distortion effect built in. And I'm going to pop the image up on the screen, but it had a sticker on it that says built-in distortion. At the touch of a button, get hollow 60s era distortion. Use the effect control to dial in center frequency. So it has the built-in effect, and it has a button that you push to activate the effect. And then there's a knob in the place of where one of the tone knobs would be on a normal, say, Stratocaster. And you use that knob, that is the resonance knob, to get that cocked wah effect. And it had the jacks for, there was two output jacks where you'd plug your cable. One is for the effect, and one is just a bypass. If you don't want to use the effect, you don't have to, and you could use that bypass effect, and it's not going to drain the battery of the effect, because that second effect pedal jack, it runs off of a 9-volt battery, just like a pedal would. But let's see here. Introducing the Danoblasters. A blast from the past. Great styling, cool 60s colors, and built-in effects. Starting from $199 to $269 list price. Just maybe the most exciting guitars of the last 30 years. Thrill to the sound of 60s era effects. Dano's retro-tuned pickups exude delicious tone. When I pulled those regular single coil pickups out of the Danoblaster, they were just ceramic magnet Strat pickups. So, you know, they're really selling it. Cool 60s burst colors with a hint of metal flake. Fulcrum tremolo on guitar models. I mean, it's a Strat style tremolo bridge. Built-in effects and stereo jacks on all models. So I guess you could plug into both jacks at the same time and go stereo. The Innuendo model features graphite nut and upgraded tuning machines. So the Innuendo had multiple effects. I have the Hearsay. The price, for what you might pay for one effect, you get an incredible stage and studio guitar and tasty 60s era analog effects built in. So, the Hearsay was the cheaper model at $199. Then there was the Innuendo with 4 built-in effects at $269. And then there was the Rumor Bass with a built-in chorus effect at $199. So, the Hearsay had like a reddish color burst. The one that I have has faded quite a bit to almost like a brown color. And there is little metal flake in the paint job, you know, to get all retro. Now, again, I replaced the pickups with lipstick pickups. Here's the back. See the metal flake, the battery cover. The headstock, all retro. The tuning knobs, which were like these cast tuners that had the Danelectro D symbol on it. It has the reverse offset body style, kind of like a Mosrite back in the 60s. And you know what? Let's explore this cheesy, hollow-like 60s distortion. I have my orange amp set up. It's clean, but this will activate the distortion. The microphone is going into the back of my Zoom 8. So this is going to be a new recording style to see how this mic will hook up with the camera at the same time that the regular microphone is going. That'll be interesting. Maybe in editing, it'll give me multiple audio tracks and I can turn the camera audio off and only have the amp mic turned on. So we're going to go into the effects. I don't even know if this guitar's tuned. It's been hanging on the wall for a while. All right, so It sounds like I need to tighten up the output jack or something. I'm going to try to keep it elevated so it's not making a lot of noise. Now let's adjust that resonance effect knob. There's that hollow tunnel. So that is the built-in grilled cheese distortion effect. Now, you can probably find one of these pedals really cheap. These guitars are a little bit harder to find. I don't even know if you'd want the guitar. I had to do a major setup on it. It's fun to have. Would I ever regularly play it? No. The retro aesthetic fits the room, and I leave it up here next to my 1968 Silvertone, and it's just for this room and the aesthetic and the fun of having it and collecting it. You can get these pedals for dirt cheap and get that same effect. Or if you have a distortion pedal and you have a wah pedal or a fuzz pedal and a wah pedal, you can achieve the same kind of effect by just adjusting the wah pedal where you want it and getting that hollow, tunnel-like, cheesy 60s distortion. That's it. Thanks for watching.